Brainstorm broadly, consider your audience, study the names of your favorite podcasts, keep it concise, use relevant search terms if you can.
Our
youth,
Chance, you're killing me today. You're killing me. My brother
Terrible.
at arms, Chance Carlisle, he's using Chat GPT.
I mean, if people are cheating with this stuff, I have no idea. We have a bigger problem on literacy because this is garbage.
So we're doing our second podcast about Memphis politics and to try to make Memphis as awesome as we know it can be. And we don't have a name for this. So, Chance pulls out his phone and starts doing Chat GPT.
Yeah,
right.
It's terrible.
It's terrible, but people are using it, and we're all getting dumber because of it, right?
Sometimes you actually have to do the work, or be creative.
Do the work, be creative. I don't know. I think that's great. Well, anyway, hey, so I'm Brian Stevens. This is
Chance Carlisle.
And we're going to be talking about Memphis politics.
Yep.
And we're going to get, I dare to say, as real as it gets.
No holds bar.
I mean, the stuff that comes out of both of our mouths, just in regular conversations, bad enough. But if people really want to know what's going to be happening with Memphis politics, the elections coming up, we're going to be real. Today we're going to break down our latest tracking poll results for the mayor's race. And I got us teed up, by the way. I don't know if you've seen these.
Oh.
I've got you teed up to look at some TV commercials by the candidates.
Let's see if they're making a difference.
Now, the only thing I want to know from you today, whatever the hell you want, tell me. But what I really want to know from you is, based on our polling data that we've had for the last year, about 80% of Memphians agree on a lot of things. How do we think the candidates are answering those, middle of the bell curve kind of questions? The extremes on both sides, have a lot of the political conversation. They dominate the airwaves. The extremists on any side of but all of us, I don't know if we're regular people, but we're kind of in the middle. Yeah. And is anybody talking to us? Yeah. And so,
I think for the most part, everyone is. What's happened is I think you have a general consensus. If you watch the debates and you look at the political advertisements, I think all the candidates understand crime's the number one issue. How do you address it? And that Memphis is headed in the wrong direction. We got to regain our momentum, and that's what every candidate's about. Now, the question is who's doing the best job of getting their message out.
Well, okay, so I got some information for you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as you know, as some of us that have watched our podcast that we sent out last week, or this week, I don't even know when we sent it out. We're still trying to figure everything out here. But, and by the way, if you have a good name suggestion, please email us. Let us know, because I want to play the music Bad Boys when we start this, but we'll get to all those technical, but we know you want the information. So we started a tracking poll a few weeks ago. It's just on the mayor's race. It's the top candidates. And we just like a ballot, you show up, you can't mark undecided on a ballot. So this particular poll pushes everyone into at least their top choice. It doesn't mean that they can't waver off of those choices. Right. And I think we can talk about the candidates that people aren't going to waive off of, their foundation, their baseline, it's base voters. And then everyone else seems to be a lot more fluid this election. Okay. So here are the results. Last week, Paul Young, downtown Memphis DMC, resident, works for the Downtown Memphis Commission. He is still in the lead. And so last week he was at 25%. This week, 26%. So maybe a point bump, and it's within the margin of error, but he's in the lead. Now, in second place, Chance, is King Harrington, Doc Harrington.
Who saw that coming?
Well, you did. And I remember that when you sat down and you know Doc, and everyone knows Doc here in the entire region. Don't ever count the king out. So we're gonna kind of break down who we think, how the movement's gonna happen. Just underneath them is Floyd Bonner, the sheriff, and then I'll talk about some of these other races. Everyone else is. Well, Van Turner's barely in double digits. He's been holding flat for a lot of months. And, one up-and-comers, J.W. Gibson, he's bounded from 2% to 8% in the last few weeks. Everyone else is kind of not very fluid the last few weeks. So, what do these numbers tell you right now?
Well, it tells me that Paul's staying where Paul's been. He's been able to increase his presence a little bit. What's surprising, Sheriff Bonner, he's taken a lot of arrows. He's trying to introduce himself. Crime's an issue. It's interesting. When you look at how people are grading crime, are they saying the sheriff is responsible or the sheriff is responsible and can fix it?
So, the one thing that I should point out, we're not The Greater 911 is not endorsing. We are putting out a scorecard in a few weeks, ranking people in different categories. We'll get to that. But we don't have a dog in a particular fight with any of these candidates. I know I know every single one of them. I like a lot of them. Like as people and hanging out and get a beer. If they want to ride bikes, I'm down for that. And so we don't have a personal dog. So what we're going to get into.
What we have is issues that we're going to hold these guys accountable to after the election. But right now, we're not weighing in and putting our thumbs on the scale about who should win.
No,
that's for the voters to decide.
But we are going to analyze the races.
Yeah,
we're going to be a little judgy, a little petty.
Hey.
All right. A matter of fact, Jackson, can you hand me some petty merch? Hand me a petty cup over there because I don't know.
Hey, we paid for the cheap seats in the gallery, and we're going to enjoy. We're going to throw some popcorn.
We are not in the arena, so we're gonna petty it up a little bit today. We're going to judge all the races. A little bit, and maybe they'll take some suggestions. Maybe they'll get on it. I'd like to see everyone do the best possible for the voters. Okay, so why isn't Floyd attacking Paul?
I don't know. Look, the sheriff is certainly being under attack, so maybe they think that they have to come out and introduce the two-time sheriff to voters. Maybe that's their strategy. I think people kind of know if the sheriff is the sheriff.
Well, hold on. First off, I think that if you're right, if they're trying to slowly introduce Floyd Bonner, who is the sheriff of the entire county with really high name ID, just under Harrington's, but really high name ID, what a mistake. What a mistake. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time to continue to introduce himself. He's got to tell people what he stands for. We're going to look at his commercials, but if Paul's in the lead, and Floyd's camp knows this, and Harrington's camp knows it, we'll get into why Harrington's not attacking or being attacked in a second. But I'm just curious so I've run over 200 campaigns in multiple states, and here's a rule. If you're in the lead, you want everything to stay the same. You don't want any chaos. But if you're not moving your way up, you have to create chaos and anarchy and hope that it benefits you.
Well, let's go back in time now. In June, July, Paul and Bonner were statistically tied. So someone did create some chaos. I mean, there's things happening in these neighborhoods that we're not seeing. And right now, the person who's doing the best subtle campaign, unquestionably, is Paul Young and Mayor Harrington. That's why they're surging.
Well, let's talk about because we certainly have the media buys and all those things. But tell me what the old grapevine is on the subterfuge campaigns, which are important, and they're the American way. We've been doing subterfuge campaigns since we became a republic, right?
Well,
so what is the
well, the question is the sheriff gaining a larger share of the black vote or not? And if not, why? And you look at Paul's support, mostly in Super District 9, which is East Memphis, Kirby Woods, those parts of town, Cordova. It's been the same, exact same. And so what that tells me is where this thing is really getting, fought is in, Fraser, North Memphis, South Memphis, et cetera. And, I wish I could say I have great, intelligence there, but that's where the biggest percentage of the vote is moving.
Yeah, but that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first tip I would have for every single campaign is Cordova and Hickory Hill are always neglected for every single political campaign. It is it's like if you're outside the loop, you don't count for some reason, even though that's a significant number of voters. I don't see anybody really talking to them in their language.
Well, there you go. And who's right now the best at mobilizing stealth campaign? Mayor Harrington.
Yeah.
And where's the vote moving? Where Mayor Harrington's surging.
Well, that's a good point. So I've heard some rhetoric on the street and I would think this would be from Paul's camp, but I don't have anything to document that. But it certainly, this rhetoric does benefit Paul's camp, right? And the rhetoric is a vote for Floyd Bonner is a vote for Harrington.
If you're trying to keep East Memphis in lockstep, that could be very effective.
But
I'm not sure it's effective in certain parts of black neighborhoods, but there's a lot of black people that trust the mayor and his message, the former mayor.
Well, I don't think it's true at all, but I think it's a hell of a great grapevine campaign tactic.
It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, kudos if Paul Young's camp is leaking that out or his people are. It's really smart. It's the smart way to do it because you need to box Floyd off and get his votes.
I think there's a little bleeding there.
Yeah, but then that goes back to how come Floyd's camp is not going after anybody yet? if you're in second or third place now, he's in third place statistically according to this poll. I don't know what they have planned. Maybe they're getting ready to pull the gloves off, but we're a few weeks away.
Yep.
So
Hey, look, I thought they missed a golden opportunity when the Memphis City Council calls in the sheriff and says, "Help, help, help! We need your help downtown." And the sheriff says, "Great. Well, who's in charge of downtown right now?"
Well, and that is the funny thing. It's like, yes, Sheriff Bonner is the chief law enforcement officer for the county, but he has no judicial power inside any of the municipalities that have a police force, right?
Unless invited.
Unless invited, right? So Lakeland has no police force. They have to patrol those seats. But in Memphis, Germantown, Carterville, they have their own police departments, which are in charge of safety. So Floyd ought to be banging a drum on that.
Meanwhile, he is taking arrows for the jail, left, right, and center.
And that
I
is,
mean, the Fourth Estate has come after him for things that are completely out of his control, right, wrong, or indifferent. The Fourth Estate's weighing in.
well, I don't know what's within his control, but I do know he's responsible as a leader for the jails.
He's
right?
responsible.
And so I would, if I was Harrington or anybody else, I would be ripping him to pieces over.
And
the
they
jail.
are.
Yeah. So so you better take. I'm gonna see what his commercials are. I haven't seen any of these yet. So.
Well, and so that's where we are today. The question is okay, who's got the most money? Paul Young, right under him, Sheriff Bonner. So they have the ability to change the race with their advertisements. The question is, will these be effective?
Yeah. And so my last question before we start looking at some TV spots and get really super petty and maybe helpful. Like if you have a candidate,
Petty Brian. I'm actually in for Petty Brian.
Yeah. Okay. All right. If you're in a particular race and you're a voter, maybe we'll give you some information to share with your candidates across the board and things like that based on our experience. But anyway, so I just one more curiosity I have for you. Harrington, 5-time elected leader. I mean, he knows more about politics than in his finger than.
We'll forget. He will forget more than we will probably know.
Yeah,
He's good. He's strategic and tactical. And people, the reason you say don't cut him out is he can do a lot with nothing.
So if there's, let's assume plus or minus 5,000, 100,000 voters turn out. Okay, I think it's going to be a little under that. But let's say 100,000 voters in this Memphis City election. First to 25% may bag it, but I think it's probably closer to the 28, 29%.
You're a winner at 30. It's close at 26.5.
Okay, so how does Harrington get above his 22% base?
Look, I'm actually terrified of saying this out loud because it could be brutal or not. But the last thing I think anyone in the Paul Young camp wants to see is the former Golden Glove guy come after him. If Harrington goes after Paul Young, it could get ugly, and Paul's going to have to sit there and fight back. And so far, he hasn't had to do that. And I'll tell you what, in a lot of conversations, Memphians want a fighter.
Well, Memphis always elects a fighter. I mean, Memphis, grit and grind, baby. That's why I love this city, man. I'm glad to raise my child here. And they want fighters.
Hey, counterpoint. What if Paul knocks him out?
Well,
that's that. Hey,
then it shows he's a fighter.
It shows. Hey, and it's over.
Yeah.
If Harrington, and maybe that's why Harrington hasn't done it yet.
Wow. Man, okay, this is kind of interesting take. So I'm curious, if I was a fly on a wall, has people had a conversation that in Harrington's camp, like we should go after Paul because Paul could rip us to pieces?
I mean, I don't know. Look, it's that's what I'm saying. Like that, if you want to talk about pulling up some popcorn and watching that happen, I mean, Paul's going to make the generational argument. He's going to say, I'm young. I know what I'm doing. I've spent 20 years doing this. Trust me. Let's go. And Harrington's going to have to answer some tough questions.
Well,
I mean, but by the way, we're giving the benefit of the doubt to Harrington, but like, imagine if Paul landed an uppercut.
Well, I don't give the benefit of doubt to anybody. I'm just being a scientist in this. As an industrial psychologist, I like the movement of human beings. And the only thing I'll say, the only piece of advice I can give any of these candidates is if you're not in the lead, you have to disrupt everything. You may go down, but you're never going to go up with the status quo if you're not in first place right now. The only person that wants the status quo is first place. So that's just an old political philosophy. So these other candidates, hey, if you're Karen Camper, Frank Colvette's still on here, he's not in anymore. Joe Brown, J.W. Gibson, Michelle, you got to do something out of the box or you're done.
Okay, well let's call a spade a spade. They're not going to win, right? They have no choice to win, but they can be influential as a surrogate for who they want to win.
This is where you and I think we're going to diverge.
Probably.
I think that right now, anybody, well, there's a couple people. If you're 3 or 4%, it's almost a statistical probability it's not going to happen, right? But if you've got $100,000 in the bank in Memphis, it's not a huge media market. It doesn't give you a lot, but if you do something really innovative and you really strike a chord, anyone could win. But hold on, here's why. With the exception of Harrington, some people are neck deep, locked in with a candidate. There's nothing that's going to change their vote. Nothing. But most voters in Memphis right now are soft on every one of their candidates, which means when you're soft, you can move. And you can move anywhere you wanted to.
And look, the person who's picked up more votes by introducing themselves, even though, sometimes we all have high opinions of ourselves, right? We all think everyone knows us and yada, yada, and you realize it's like your church, your family, your dog, house, and that's about it. J.W. Gibson. Businessman, vision, he's come out strong. He's gained 6-7 points.
Right.
So it's possible. He could gain another 6, 7, 8 points. He's 15-16%. But when you look at where you have to go, what are we about 3 or 4 weeks from early voting? You're talking about having to gain a couple thousand voters a week is tough.
Yeah, well, but there's so many examples of campaigns that have nobody thought they could win, nobody thought it could happen, and all of a sudden at the last moment, boop, 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 and they just crush it. And I mean, if anybody wants to get through the science of that, I mean, Bill Corker was supposed to be the governor. Nope. Somebody,
look,
if
if this was the presidential race, ex-Trump for the Republican Party, I mean, who knows who would be the nominee, right? Well, it's typically not the front runner.
And all I'm saying is, very rarely does a front runner
make it
3 or 4 months out win because they start to get attacked. And that's the only thing I find curious with this. And I'm going to turn to these videos now. But Paul Young's been the front runner for a couple weeks. Something's going to happen.
And we're just getting to the ads. So look,
right.
the ads are their way of moving the race.
Well, I hope so. Okay, so right now, and you can turn to your screen here. Mm-hmm. We've got our first spot. Now, these aren't all their TV commercials. Not all of them have TV commercials, but I kind of wanted to look at a few clips and get your take. All right, so here, let's look at the first one. I'll let it run for a little bit. So this was Harrington's one of his intro videos that he put out.
It's so good. So good.
I mean, look, you don't have to like Harrington. You can love him, you can like him, but you got to show the man respect.
Not just respect. I mean, that is gold.
The music's catchy. It's rhythm. It has all these community people. Shows him as a man of the people.
You do not need to explain Memphis, Tennessee to Mayor Harrington.
I mean, and that's it, right? That's it. Like, he gets his constituents, right? Not all of them. I tell you, if I was on Doc's camp, the only thing I would say, I don't know if he'd listen, but the only thing I would say is, Doc, this is awesome. You've got your base. Now you should be in Hickory Hill or an Orange Band, and you should just be there. Introduce yourself to, because once again, if we're the road to 30%, he's stuck at 22.
I said this to Doc a couple of times, and let me say this out loud so everyone understands. No one has earned the right to give Doc political advice. All right, it just is. He don't need free advice, but some free advice. And I said this, and maybe this is just my personal wish. I'd love to see him on a debate stage. I would love to see him on a debate stage.
Well, and that kind of gets to one point about these debates. I've done this before. I've had candidates that aren't necessarily going to do, the candidate should do what's right for their campaign. Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate, though, because the voters need as much information as education they can. And just because somebody's a great debater does not make them a great elected leader.
Nope.
But you're right. A
debate with entertainment value.
A debate between these top 4 people would be so much fun. I would probably even watch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But not that. Look, let's say he does win And he's got a great message, but a lot of people don't know what it is because they're not as tuned in and following this stuff as closely as we are.
Right.
I will say one more thing about Doc, and that commercial proves it. That man can go anywhere in the city and be welcomed. Not every candidate can say that.
That's a good point. Now let's switch to now J.W. Gibson, and I'm going to transition to his spot. He was a county commissioner. He's a businessman. He wasn't on the county. He hasn't been on county commission for a few years, but he threw his hat in the ring, and he's made some movement. Right? He's not in the top 4, not in the top 5, but I like to look at movement and curiosity as to why. So we actually have a full spot. I'm going to let the whole spot run. It's 30 seconds. All right. I can get this.
I started my first business out of my mom's garage, and I built one of Memphis' most successful minority-owned businesses. I grew my business here because I love my city, and today the warehouse is much bigger. I'm running for mayor because I want to grow our city the same way, with discipline, determination, and clear vision for the future. Vote for me, J.W. Gibson, for mayor, and let's grow Memphis together.
I'm going to say something that's going to feel really messy.
How many are we talking about?
I noticed something in this spot. 65% of the voting block is, give or take, in the city of Memphis is African American, right? I mean, you got to counter to the biggest group of people for sure, right? But there's untapped communities that I don't think that any of the mayoral candidates are really aggressively going after. I guess I don't get it, right? Because the math, right? If it's 8% Hispanic, man, we're the Hispanics in those spots, right? We're the white people in those spots. They are super voters. And I got a great question the other day. It's like, how was the messages for these campaigns going to get to the different groups? Well, if they're super voters, which means they vote all the time, it's going to reach them. Anyway, I'm not trying to be too preachy here on this stuff, but you got to look at a lens of an eclectic lens to make sure you're representing the entire city.
All right, here's why I love the spot. One, he's a political newcomer, business person.
Well, he was on the county commission for a lot of years.
Fair enough. But that was, I
he's
diapers.
not a political newcomer.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right.
You're young. You just don't remember.
Okay.
Keep going.
JW, coat and tie, very serious, but his message is, I want to grow the city. It's not focused on crime, which makes it different. And he's introduced himself as a businessman who's successful and can do it. So he may be the only one of these early spots that says, hey, trust me with your city and we'll grow it. And I think that's why he's moved up 7-8 points. It's name ID, a little bit, sure. But I think people resonate towards, hey, I like the business approach. Remember when Frank was going to run? And Frank says, I'm going to be your business mayor. I think JW is filling into those gaps. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if some Frank Colvett voters really look at this spot and say, okay, hey, maybe so.
Wow. So to counter kind of my viewpoint of collectively looking at males and females and all the different people in the city, you're right. So the Greater 901 has 3 key initiatives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Public safety, economic development, money. Because if you have money, money can be spent on kind of curing some of these problems, right? And then certainly what our relationship with other governments, including the state, to get our fair share. And you're right, JW is the only one focused on that economic development so far.
Let's grow the pie wins. Wow, it's a winning message.
Wow. So if you got a candidate out here, you got a candidate you love out here, nobody's talking about that. Now look, public safety is the number one thing, and it has been for eons in Memphis. The second and third things have rotated between roads and potholes to education, economic development, to those things. But you're right. JW has a slightly different message, and he's getting some kicks up.
And the question is if you pivoted to economic development now or vision, as I think candidates should, is it worth 5 points? Maybe.
Well, especially augmenting your messaging to say, what is your plan? Now, look, I get 30-second spots, not enough to tell me what your actual plan is. Mm-hmm. And let me do a plug for the Greater 901 scorecards and voter guides that's coming up, that we've asked the candidates to complete an excruciatingly long questionnaire that's going to be put on our website in raw form so people can just read what their answers to all these questions are.
Yep, we don't change it. It's verbatim what they said, and it's the Bible, good as gold.
Yeah, it's dope. It's dope. So great. So now I've got one from Van Turner. Now, before I hit this, Van, county commissioner, longtime lawyer. But he's the one that's been running for mayor the longest, I think.
I mean, he was running when he was on county commission.
Yeah, so it's I find it interesting, and I find it interesting that he's he pumped up, and so far he's been hovered right around that, barely kicking into double digits, barely kicking into double as it stands today, right? Like once again, I don't know what the future holds, but he hasn't really plugged out of that for some reason.
Well, I think the reason is his policies. I think the more people actually know about him and what he stands for, voters are rejecting. I think it's a policy messaging I don't really think is as important. You look at where the bell curve is, 80%. Van may be the one candidate that has some things that are outside that 80%.
Well, let's see what he's saying in his he's calling this his first TV spot. Generation Van. Kind of a cool name. I don't know.
The Turner family, it's all about the next generation. I'm Van Turner. On the county commission, I help pass pre-K and secure funding for the Boys and Girls Club. As mayor, we will invest in mentoring programs and community centers to get to the root cause of crime and to prevent crime. And my vision is to provide child care for all kids after age 2.
Van can't.
Okay, hold on. The voters rejected this.
Not only did they reject it, all they hear when they see these spots, how much is it going to cost me, and how do we pay for it?
Yeah, I mean, the universal pre-K failed. I mean, it went to a ballot. The voters said, "No, thank you. No, thank you." Right? And so I'm not saying it's not needed. I mean, public education. I'm a big, huge proponent of public education. Without public education, we're gone as a society in 50 years, right? Like
3 months ago, Van was at 15-17%. Today's at 10.
Yeah,
this is why.
And so I'm gonna back up to right here, and I'm gonna play this again, and everyone can have their own views, but it feels very dated to me. And we know the data, the science. Now look, I'll give it to this guy. All right, I'll give him one. I'll give him some credit here on this. All right, and then I'm gonna be petty again. At least he's standing for what he believes in. He's saying what he believes in. He's standing out there on a ledge, and he's saying, this is what I think is right.
He's not milquetoast.
He ain't milquetoast.
Like it or not, Van is authentic.
Yeah.
And he's a believer. And I think that's why he's in this race.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. So, okay, so I'm going to give him some credit that he's standing up for what he believes in. He's just picking the wrong fight. If he wants to be mayor, this is the wrong fight.
If he were running in a bunch of single-member districts or super district, he'd win.
Oh, I don't know that.
Across the city, that message doesn't play.
No, and the voters unanimously have rejected this time and time again. And maybe they should accept it, but here's the thing, right? And remember, I'm an old soldier. If you want me to take a hill, I got to take a hill. I can't worry about 10,000 other things. If you're running a campaign to win an election, you need to win the election. If you want to change the hearts and minds about an issue, go run that campaign. That's an issue campaign. It's separate.
Well, let me agree and say this is a re-election campaign. You can run if you're already the mayor and this is what you want to go and do, because then you don't have to spend all your time and money telling people who you are. Look what this spot tries to do in 30 seconds. Introduce Van, talk about his family, tell him who he is, and then immediately goes, and he's the only guy that puts endorsements in.
You're right. And some of this happens because candidates don't have enough funds.
That's right.
But a lot of it happens because there's no discipline in the campaign. It's every piece of output to a voter should have one theme, one message, one. If it's an intro commercial, just introduce yourself, man. But this one was school, education, youth, crime, and it's a lot to stomach. Maybe it's because he has limited resources, but
and then he throws endorsements in.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. We haven't got to that part.
I haven't seen it. Okay. Let's play it again. And let me transition this. I got to play producer and commentator here.
Hey, you're multi-talented.
Yeah. Right.
As mayor, we will invest in mentoring programs and community centers to get to the root cause of crime and to prevent crime. And my vision is to provide child care for all kids after age 2.
Van can't.
Van can.
Van Turner, the Democrat mayor for Memphis's future.
And there you go again with the Democrat mayor. It's like you're not going to be the mayor of the Republicans or the mayor of the Independents. I mean, Memphis still has a tremendous amount of independents.
He grew up in.
And that's kind of what I mean. Like once again, I'm going to get into the fact that like the mayor's race is nonpartisan. That means on the ballot, it doesn't show an R or a D or an L for Libertarian or anything else. It's just the names of the people. And I think that that's really, I think that all of society should be like that, and we'd be a little less fractured.
So I'm gonna put it out there. This is not a mayoral campaign.
Yeah.
This is a congressional campaign.
Yeah, and I still think he's talking about issues that people have rejected. He might be right, but the voters have rejected it, and it's so anyway. And I guess that's why he's flat. He's just not. He's not talking globally to the entire city. He's talking to one. He already limits himself to Democrats. He's limited himself to people that care that that's their number one issue, and then he's doing a little too much. All right, so all right. Well, let's look at. I've got here one from.
The question is, can he regain share? Probably not. But if he loses more share, where did those votes go in this race?
We'll save that for next week. Okay, so let's look at some. Let's look at.
He grew up in Orange Mound, followed his father into law enforcement, and rose from an undercover narcotics agent to the sheriff of Shelby County. Floyd Bonner has made history, and he's made a difference. As mayor, he'll make fighting crime his #1 priority. Rebuild our police force, expand community and data-driven policing. Because with 42 years of law enforcement experience, Floyd Bonner is the right man at the right time to lead Memphis. Floyd Bonner, ready on.
Oh, hold on. Right man at the right time is the exact opposite of what Van Turner's talking about.
I mean, look, perfection and a 30-second spot on introduction. Compare this to what Van was. It's the same thing. Or JW. Yeah. JW, I'm a good spot, solid spot. I'm a businessman. I'm going to grow the city. We're going to do it. Floyd Bonner, here's who I am. I'm a lifelong Memphian. I'm fighting crime. Trust me, I'll make us safer.
It is a really good intro spot because it lets you know that if crime's your #1 issue, he's got the most experience in that. And it keeps it simple, and it's concrete, and it validates him. Pretty nice. Now, I'm going to say this, all right? And look, first off, it's a good spot. He's first African-American sheriff. He's got a ton of kudos, all these awesome things about him. But I'm going to tell you what the problem is and why I think, you want to know? Well, you want to know why I think he's flat?
I think you're about to tell me.
I'm going to get petty. Where is he? No, I mean, where is he? He didn't talk in that commercial. He didn't say anything in that commercial. He does not. He's letting everyone else do his talking. He didn't go to the debate. He's not there. He's not showing up for things, man. You had made a suggestion a couple weeks, showing up on Bill Street and getting control of it. Did he do it?
I mean, yeah, I have no idea what he's going to do. But I mean, look, what do people want to see? A visible presence. They want to see leadership. They want to see people take action.
They want to see a fighter.
That's right.
If your #1 issue is crime and law enforcement, you want somebody that's going to fight. Harrington, ain't no doubt about it. Mr. Golden Glove, a fighter. He's a fighter, and years ago, Brent Taylor, who was on the city council in Harrington, was kind of a boxing match. Man, I thought they should do it for charity or something. But the issue is Floyd comes off really well in that spot. It is a great spot.
It's a perfect spot.
But it's all the unanswered questions about why I think he's flat. And he's got to come out, and just once again, just my opinion here, he's got to come out and get a lot more aggressive on these other candidates, or he's going to stay right where he is.
All right.
Well, okay. But
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that I would, if I was on Floyd's camp, I would be like, you're going to have to do more than this.
Here's the question about not the spot itself, the strategy behind the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Does the sheriff really need to introduce himself?
Yes, kind of. It's all about, like, and he's got a great team, so I'm sure they've thought about this, but if I was going to produce everything for him, you're like, look, you got your intro, get it done quick, get it over with quick for him. Let it run for a couple weeks, bake it in, and then get off of it quick too, and move on to the next stuff. So I'm hoping to see some new spots.
By the way, the backbone spot, which we don't have, which we can show later, does that. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So once
it's
again,
early.
It's early. And by the way, nobody's voted yet.
Yeah.
Not one person's voted yet, and we have to keep reminding. So all these votes are fluid because ain't nobody voted. So I sure his team, in Paul's team and Harrington's his own team is is I'm very curious to see these gloves starting to get up in a little bit more specific campaign messages.
Ready about one thing about all these spots, though? Harrington, J.W. Gibson, and we'll see Paul's in a second, Bonner. There's nothing to object. Van had the only policies and things that you could actually object. So it's very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. It's very kumbaya.
Right. So I want to jump. I had Paul's teed up, but I actually want to tee up. I want to do one of the outliers.
Okay.
The people that Michelle is on the school board, and she didn't have a TV spot up, but I put up one of her videos. I just wanted to see what her theme is, message is. So just because we're having fun.
By the way, talk about a mess, the school board and the search for the superintendent and all that. I mean, that's one of those things where you run for mayor, you think you've got a great background association, and all of a sudden it kind of crumbles under you. It's not your fault, but it's like that's the baggage you have to deal with. I feel bad timing for Michelle on that. Feel a little rough there.
Right. Yeah. Well, those things hurt, and that happens. So okay, let's check this thing out.
Hi, I'm Michelle McKissick. I'm running for mayor of Memphis because it's time for a change. It's time to believe bigger. With my plan, Whole City Memphis, we can build a better Memphis together. Safe neighborhoods, prosperous opportunities for everyone, investment in our young people. I'm ready to work for all Memphians. Join this history-making moment to help Memphis elect its first woman mayor.
Okay.
There's a lot to like. Well done. Family, vision, great introduction of who she is.
It was a great introduction.
I think so.
I have no idea what the introduction was.
Just name ID.
No. I mean, it didn't introduce her. It said some of her ideas, which were very normal. They were safe. They were all good. Safe. I mean, these are.
It's a feel-good spot.
It's a feel-good spot, but it really didn't lay out her background. So I can't say it was an intro spot, but it certainly gave her theme, and clearly what she's saying is the first female mayor of Memphis. I don't know if that's enough to win. As a matter of fact, I know it's not. But it's nice, and it does set her aside a little bit from the other candidates. But I think one of the things she's missing is this fighter.
Right, by the way, which she is. I mean, if you know Michelle, she is a fighter. And so that's the part of like what we were talking about earlier is it enough to stand apart and dominate the news cycle so you get free publicity, free messaging, and more coverage because they don't have the dollars to do it? It just doesn't stand out, but it's a really nice spot for, you know.
Well, and that's the thing is it's like sometimes I think these candidates that we know personally, we've dealt with personally, Michelle is a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Her family is a bunch of fighters. I mean, not like in a bad way, but like they're going to stand up. They're going to defend what they think is right. They're going to advocate for what they want. They're going to be assertive for what they want. And I guess I would like to see more of that from her.
She has strong opinions. She has a leadership streak. She's someone that will say, take the hill, and people will take the hill. It doesn't come off in that spot.
And I guess that's kind of what I mean. I know that's not her TV spot. That's an intro spot sitting on her website. It's perfect for that. It's nice for that. But it's like, Michelle, be you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there, man. Get out there and let people know. Like, you don't have to be polished. You know, she's a former newscaster. She certainly knows how to own a TV presence. You know, she has a presence. She has an aura about her. People want to, listen to her. It's awesome. Just show us you're gonna. The reason why I wanted to show one of the spots of the people not in the top here is somebody like Michelle or Karen Camper, by the way, both females running, both awesome individuals, know them both well. Karen Camper was in the military like I was, and we actually ran for city council in 2009 against each other. And I made the runoff, and then she endorsed me. So I got big love for Karen, right? And it's like these women are fighters, but the voters don't see it.
But what should have happened? I'm just going to go ahead. It's not controversial. It's what should have happened. They should have never been in this race. They should have been an amazing surrogate. Yes, they should have been an amazing surrogate. We should have had 5 or 6 candidates, and they should have been the campaign trail for these guys fighting for their candidate. And they would have been awesome in that role.
Chance, as America.
All right,
in America, I like a lot of people to run. People said, I've heard other people say there's too many people in this race. It's America, man. Anyone that wants to run should run. They've got the right to run. They've got the ability to run. You clearly see from the poll numbers They're not going to have it. I don't know if it's a waste of time, because a lot of times you got to run, lose, and come back and win. Sometimes you got to go bake your chops out in a pre-race, and a lot of times people don't win the first one for something like this.
I get it.
But
Look,
shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Look, and I get it. That's not how we do it for the Memphis Mayor's race. Everyone, of course, has the right to run, but I mean, what you want to do is see more Michelle on the fighting for someone who's going to win. That'd be interesting.
Well,
can you imagine if the bottom 5 candidates and the top 4 candidates all paired up? It'd be a far more entertaining and more educating race.
It would be super entertaining, right? But I'm going to kind of get back to that. When they all enter the race, they all believe that they're going to be at the top of the polls at this time of year. So nobody really knows that, and we can't caution. I know. Hold on now. I know lots of good people that were thinking about running. They didn't do it.
It takes courage.
So they're all fighters because they entered the race. They took a risk. I hope more people in our city run. I want more people to run, not less.
I agree with that.
Okay.
And, well, I agree with that. Let's get to the front runner.
Okay, all right. It's so maybe the title of the podcast is Two Dudes Arguing the Whole Time. I don't know. Let us know what you think. All right. So let's check out Paul's first TV spot. I'm going to leave your clip up here, Chance. I like watching your face when we do this.
I'm Paul Young, and I'm running for mayor because I believe in a Memphis where everyone has an opportunity. Let's improve public safety, invest in our neighborhoods, and ensure that every child has a quality education. I'm asking for your vote for mayor on October 5th. I'm Paul Young, and I'm running for mayor because I believe in a Memphis where everyone has an opportunity. Let's improve public safety, invest in our neighborhoods, and ensure that every child has a quality education.
Didn't we just see? I'm going to get super petty. I don't have any idea which candidate I'm listening to. They're all starting to sound the same to me. I mean, this is the same thing that I mean.
Well, I think
it's typical.
I think it's different. Look, I
think it's different.
I do. I think it's different. I think you have to compare this spot to Van's spot. Now, they basically say a lot of the same things, but Paul is very inclusive. He doesn't say Democrat. He says education. Van said education, but was very specific. And so, I mean, who can argue with anything in the spot? I can't. Oh.
I can.
Okay.
I'm bored.
Boring may win.
Well, and I guess that's kind of my point, is Paul is a front runner right now, but by a very slim margin. Memphians want people with energy and with some grit and grind in them. I didn't feel that in this spot. So my maybe you're right. Maybe just regular, just normal gets it done. And if you keep, if I was 15 points up, I would love this spot a lot more for him. I get nervous. And once again, I play like I'm on their camps right now. Like if I was in Paul's camp right now, I'd be like, man, this is all right, guys, but the world's getting ready to come.
Not the world, Mayor Harrington.
Mary Harrington, J.W. Gibson, Floyd Bonner, Van Turner, Michelle, Karen. Now he's got a target on his back, and if he could, I'm going to play one more spot for him. Okay,
let's go.
But once again, we're trying to be a little petty. Is you like my props?
Look, I don't want.
First off, Chance, do you like my props?
I do like it.
Okay, I got this for you today.
But here's the thing. I don't even think this is petty. I think we are anticipating. We're guessing what's about to come. We don't really know. But the reason we're doing that is this is what's going to shake up the race.
Right, because when the attacks start coming, once again, in politics, if you're explaining, you're losing. But man, you got to. Maybe they got in the can some really strong spots, some things ready to go. I'm just saying.
I raised it last time. If he's got a counter punch, watch out.
Well, the only thing I'll say is I don't really remember the spot that well. Vans, I don't. Michelle, they're just not. Floyd, it's so hard to stand out when the science will say us humans every day we get the latest Harvard study says we get 15,000 communications a day. It's just a lot to cut through, and I guess I'm always thinking about something that has to be a little bit more outside. But let's look at one more, and then we'll close it out. All right. So let me.
I'm Paul Young, and my story started right here in Oak Haven. My parents instilled in me a strong sense of faith and service. It inspired me to dedicate my life to serving the people of Memphis. Now, I'm running for mayor to fight for a better future for our kids. My plan? Safer communities, cleaning up our neighborhoods, affordable housing, and high-quality education for our children. I'm asking for your vote on October 5th so we can build a better Memphis together.
I like it a lot better.
A lot
I like
better.
that one a lot more.
A lot of energy. I love the music.
Yeah.
It's very positive. And look, he was able to communicate without having to explicitly say, I have experience. I've been in the office. I'm ready to take the mantle.
Yeah,
It works.
He
but-
connected with me a little bit more in that spot
Mm-hmm.
because he is talking about that he's from here, he is here, and he sounds pretty strong. Which I'm going to go back to the Floyd Bonner one. I didn't ever hear Floyd's voice.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ever hear him say anything. And eventually, he got to be the mayor, right? If he's going to be the mayor, he got to be the mayor. You hear Harrington's voice. You know Harrington's house. You hear JW's voice. You hear Michelle Smith.
You hear Van Turner's voice.
You hear Van Turner's voice. And Paul sounded pretty strong right then. Ooh, I hadn't seen that spot, but I kind of dug it. And so, anyway, I guess I'm going to wrap up with my general thoughts, which are I'm hoping that everyone gets in the game, picks their candidate, starts digging in, really gets educated. Our scorecards are coming out in a couple weeks where we rank all these candidates based on those categories, and I hope people tune in. But what else you got? We've been going for a while.
Look, I'm going to say it. It's early. They're just now spending money. You know, 2 war chests, Paul Young. He's going to have the money to fight back if they attack him. We'll see. He's obviously done a great job to introduce himself. Sheriff Bonner, we're going to see what, he's got a backbone spot that's basically, hey, I'm here for you. We didn't play it today, but we can maybe get into it the next time. And then we'll find out if he starts to punch. We know Mayor Harrington's going to punch. We'll just see who's going to take a hit and keep going.
Dude, I dig it. And I should say that we're sponsored by, well, nobody. We're sponsored by nobody, okay? We're just here to help the voters of our great city. But, if you want to sponsor us, Petty Mugs would be great. But
there it is. We'll have our next track and pull out a week from today, roughly.
Yeah, in a week. So I hope you stay tuned. Share it with your friends. Awesome sauce. Go Memphis.